Hello, and I'm here to talk about Reagan Fox's Tales of a Fighting Bobcat and audio archaeological audio archaeological ology of gay identity formation and maintenance. And first off, what I thought the personal thesis to be myself is on the very first page. It's in this essay I reference artifacts from high school to demonstrate how institutional structures and discourses constrain and enable heterosexual and lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender identities. And one thing that he does harp on, he harps on really two things throughout the entirety of the essay that kind of intertwine. The main subject or social discourse issue is that how LGBTQ identities are presented in institutionalized standards like high school, middle school, just schools in general, and educational system is what he specifically harps on. But he also talks about the method of audio archaeology, how he uses these, throughout, the one thing that's different from the other articles that I noticed is that, unlike, well, minus, I think, the Slutwalk piece, he mostly harps on, he uses images, lots and lots of very contextual images that make it, first off, really, really enlightening and really, really all just a very more captivating piece, I should say. And also how this method is really, how autoethnography itself is super, super important to the gay transgender community, because they could just sit there and, just let it slide underneath the radar, not tell their stories, but they choose to in this autoethnographical standpoint. Allows them to do less, like factual, like in your face, more just casual storytelling, and just let them portray themselves through another medium, I guess you should say. But overall, he also talks about how a lot of the times, he also mentions a couple of very true points I never really did realize growing up, is that a lot of the gay, lesbian, and transgender communities, history stuff is not really presented much in school. And I didn't really think about that, but I'm now that I think back on a lot of the main things were women's suffrage, Black Panther movement, stuff like that. A lot of the very racial stuff, but the LGBTQ, that hardly has any place in history books 9 times out of 10, which is super, super interesting to me. That just really stuck out to me through a lot, because there's a lot of things wow, that happened. But another major thing is that this is what I was talking about, gay autoethnographers. Here's a quote from page 124. Like performance artists, gay autoethnographers are uniquely positioned to interrogate how education systems constrain and enable young gay identities. So again, that's just him saying basically is that through autoethnography, we can challenge certain constructs and system, and that's what's really, really good, because it allows for change to happen, and it's not a very very debate type standpoint, which I thought is super, super interesting, super, super important. And I think through a lot of his stories that he shares in here, he really does challenge that a little bit. I think the story at the very end was him getting into the homecoming seat, but not actually getting homecoming king. But it was still kind of like a rich reason, say, this is here, this is who I am, I'm owning it. And another story that really also caught my attention was the whole him auditioning to be a girl and him just blowing it off, and the fact that he had to. Later on, I believe he said something along the lines of that he would rather have been considered a girl and had gone to the callback for that school than actually sit there and face the bullying that was happening at Sci-Fair. And to me, that's just really, really disgusting, because that's actually kind of true. A lot of people just want to sit there, rather avoid, brushing under the rug. Nowadays, it's a little bit more, acceptable to speak out about this kind of stuff. But overall, it's just rather disgusting. It really made me realize how ugly educational and some kids are nowadays. Because it's just ruthless overall. It's just so bad. I think I don't have the quote right in front of me, and honestly, there's so many pages that I can't really flip through all of them and give you an exact parse quote. But here it is. I was the cause of my. Most of my teachers at Sci-Fair seemed to think that I was the cause of my bullying. School officials urged me to cut my hair, tone down my feminine mannerisms, and do my best to blend in with the crowd. And that just freaking made me very upset, because that's not cool. To sit there and have a leadership position, sit there and say that, don't be you. That's not cool. And he uses a term, and I like this term a lot because first off, it's italicized, so it's got to be important, right? But systematic response to homophobia and bullying shifts the blame of physical and mental abuse onto the subject of the suffering. And the fact that happens way too much, because I was an overweight kid, and I got bullied quite a bit for it. And the fact that I can relate to just being bullied in general, I can't relate to being homosexual, because I'm honestly not. But honestly, it's just really upsetting. And I guess some questions I have is, what's the direction? Because I mean, he seems to offer a lot of stories and a lot of insight on it. But what are possible solutions? I didn't really see personally any solutions that he offered in it. What are some solutions going forward? Because God, that's just disgusting. But anyways, that's all I have to talk about it for. See you next time.